Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share this episode with your friends.
You know how to do it.
Today we're taking a deep dive into a story about facing self-doubt and finding the courage to stand strong.
Courage.
Our source material is Courage to Stand, which draws inspiration from a story in The New Human Revolution,
Yes.
a novel series by Daisaku Ikeda, the president of Soka Gakkai International.
That's right.
Now, before we jump in, it's super important to remember that this deep dive is simply our interpretation of Sensei's.
Sensei.
That's what SGI members call Daisaku Ikeda teachings.
Exactly.
Think of it as a starting point for your own exploration. We always encourage checking out the original SGI literature for a deeper understanding.
Absolutely. We're focusing on sparking your curiosity and encouraging you to learn more.
Okay, so the story we're exploring focuses on a young woman who faces some significant challenges, but she ends up being appointed as a leader in her community.
Right.
The thing is, she's wrestling with some serious self-doubt.
Oh, yeah.
So her story begins at a very young age. She lost her leg at just 3 years old due to an illness.
Wow.
Imagine the impact that had on her life.
That's a life-altering experience, to say the least.
Absolutely.
Years later, she's appointed as a Young Women's Division Leader. That's the YWD, a group within the Soka Gakkai. And at first, she's excited.
Okay.
But then those doubts start creeping in. Can she really do this? What if she fails? The pressure of leadership starts to feel overwhelming.
It makes you wonder, have you ever felt that way? Like maybe you landed a new role at work or took on a new responsibility, and suddenly you're hit with this wave of self-doubt.
It's so relatable. We've all been there. And for this woman, those feelings are compounded by the very real physical challenges she faces.
Right. Even something like home visits, which are a big part of her new role, become much harder for her.
She could only manage 1 or 2 visits each day,
Oh, wow.
while others could do many more. On top of that, she constantly felt people looking at her, maybe judging her because of her disability. It all added up to a feeling of not being enough.
So after struggling for 3 months, she decides to go to Sensei hoping for some guidance. She tells him, I just can't keep up with everyone else. I'm not getting the results I should. I think I'm in over my head with this leadership thing.
And this is where things take an unexpected turn.
Oh.
Because Sensei's response is not what you'd expect. He basically calls her a coward.
Wow.
He tells her, you make it sound like it's my fault for appointing you. This attitude is pitiful. Cowards are the worst.
Wow.
I mean, ouch, right?
Definitely not the kind of comforting words you'd expect. It really makes you stop and think,
What's going on here?
what could Sensei's intention be?
Right.
We'll delve into that in part 2.
Yes. Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about Sensei's rather surprising response to the young woman's struggles. It seemed harsh, even hurtful, to call her a coward.
Definitely seemed like tough love, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's important to dig a little deeper here and understand the context. This story is deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy, specifically the Soka Gakkai tradition.
Right.
And in this tradition, there's a huge emphasis on personal responsibility and something called inner transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, break that down for us a bit.
Right.
What does that actually mean for someone who's going through a tough time?
It means that instead of simply offering sympathy or trying to fix her problems, Sensei was challenging her to find strength within herself.
Okay.
He was essentially saying, you have the power to overcome this. Don't blame your circumstances.
So it's less about giving her a pat on the back and more about giving her a push
Right.
to realize her own potential.
Exactly. It's about pushing her beyond her comfort zone, forcing her to confront those feelings of self-doubt head on.
And there's another layer to this story that's really fascinating. Later on, we learn that Sensei actually spoke to another leader privately about the young woman.
Yes, he reveals that he believes in her deeply, even though he just gave her this incredibly harsh criticism.
Yeah, it's almost like he's putting on this tough act to spark a fire within her. Instead of coddling her, he's giving her a jolt to wake her up to her own strength.
And that's a really interesting approach to mentorship, isn't it? It's not always about gentle encouragement. Sometimes it's about pushing someone to rise to the occasion.
So what happens next? Does she just crumble under Sensei's criticism?
Not at all. She goes back to her lodging, and she's clearly shaken. But as she reflects on his words and chants, which is a form of Buddhist practice where you repeat a phrase to focus your mind,
Right.
she starts to have a realization.
What kind of realization?
She realizes that Sensei might actually be right. She's been letting her fears and self-pity hold her back, and in a way, she has been blaming him for putting her in this leadership position.
So like a powerful moment of taking responsibility, of owning her own thoughts and feelings.
Right. And then just as she's having this breakthrough, another leader shows up with a message from Sensei.
Okay.
Sensei wants her to know that he really does believe in her. He explains that his harsh words were intended to inspire her, not to tear her down.
That clarification is huge. It shows that his methods might have been unconventional, but his heart was in the right place.
And this message has a profound impact on her. Instead of feeling defeated, she feels empowered.
So it's like a switch flips in her mind.
She goes from feeling completely inadequate to embracing the challenges and deciding to become the best leader she can be.
It's a beautiful example of how powerful a shift in perspective can be.
And for our listeners, it's a great reminder that we all have the capacity to overcome difficult obstacles. Sometimes we just need that push, that challenge to awaken the strength that we already have inside us.
This story is packed with so many insights. We've unpacked the concept of tough love, the importance of taking responsibility, and the transformative potential of facing our fears head on. But we're not done yet. Well, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring courage to stand. And I don't know about you, but this story has really gotten me thinking.
Yeah, it's definitely a story that sticks with you, makes you think about the challenges you've faced. For sure.
And how you responded to them.
Absolutely. So let's break down some key takeaways from this story for our listeners. What really stood out to you?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that challenges build character. Going through tough times might not feel good in the moment, but those experiences can really help us grow in ways we never imagined.
Yeah, that reminds me of the saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor.
Exactly. And it leads right into another key takeaway. Sometimes compassion can look like tough love.
Yeah, like how Sensei was so harsh with the young woman. It seemed mean at first,
Right.
but he was actually challenging her to step up and realize her potential.
Yeah, it can be easy to fall into the trap of wanting to shield people from discomfort.
Right.
But sometimes a little push, even if it seems tough, is exactly what someone needs to discover their own strength.
And that brings us to another important point. Inner strength is key.
Hmm.
It's about finding that unwavering belief in yourself, even when things get tough. Yeah, it's about cultivating that never give up spirit,
Yeah.
We all have the potential to overcome obstacles, but we have to tap into that inner strength.
And sometimes, like we saw in the story, that inner strength is sparked by others who believe in us, even when we doubt ourselves.
That's so true. And speaking of believing in others, I think the story also has a lot to say about leadership and empathy.
Yeah, the young woman's own struggles allowed her to connect with others on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
She understood what it felt like to face adversity, which made her a more compassionate leader.
Experiences like that can give you a depth of understanding that you just can't get from a textbook.
Totally. And finally, I think the story sends a powerful message about facing your fears and never retreating.
It's so tempting to just give up when things get hard, to crawl back into our comfort zones. But true courage lies in pushing forward even when it's scary.
So true. This story offers a beautiful reminder that we all have the capacity for courage and resilience.
It's within each of us.
It is. It's about tapping into that human potential and never underestimating our own ability to overcome adversity.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, we want to leave you with a question to ponder. How has this story changed your perspective on facing your own challenges?
Think about the areas in your life where you might be holding back, where fear or self-doubt might be creeping in. How can you apply the lessons from this story to find your own courage and create positive change?
We would love to hear your thoughts. Share your experiences in the comments below.
And remember, you have the strength within you to overcome anything life throws your way.
And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more inspiring stories and thought-provoking discussions. Until next time, keep diving deep.